There it is, the picture. Don and I collaborated on a book where he gave me 82 paintings to create 82 poems. And it's called Ekphrasticism, so we're going to do 3 poems from that book for you tonight. And for each poem, I'm going to have Don just tell you a little bit about the painting.
I consider this painting my reward for being a good husband. You see, when a wife says, I'm going to get my hair cut, a good husband says, I'll go and keep you company. And while she's getting her hair cut, there's nothing to do, so you roam around the backyard, and my gosh, there's a bunch of trees, and suddenly there's this incredible light. Now, I'm really fascinated by both light and space. And when the light hit the trees, I couldn't tell which tree was in front or back or whatever, and it just was fascinating. So I ran out of the house, she got a camera, snapped the picture, and worked this up in my studio.
And I took a look at it and saw something totally different as we did on most things throughout the book. I wrote a poem called Signature. A misty day on the road to hope. Trees pass by, inkblots, blurs of green, smeared against the sky's gray clouds. Unframed paintings, moving, still life, Monet dreams, dreaming, ushering an early dusk into nature's fog-encrusted theater. I sit someplace between my signature and the half-written page. The waning fog ebbs into the hard-edged corner of a wayward star. I watch the world dim in slow motion fade out as I sign my name to another day pass away.
This painting is called The Dead Scrolls Sea. I do quite different work sometimes when I'm in my studio than I do outside, because I like to work outside and just capture the light and the effects. But in my studio I explore ideas, and I like to layer the ideas and have many different ideas in one painting. This particular one is based on a theme that I've followed through many years, which is seems to be a bit of a clash between religious ideas and scientific investigation. And I was reading a book called The Gnostic Gospels, and I was looking at information about the Dead Sea Scrolls, and I made up this painting, made up a language that went with it, and I just put in the images of the people. I've lived in Australia, and the Aboriginal culture was very interesting as well, and it's dying out. So therefore, I put the figures in at a sort of a standing man figure, and it just fades away. There are 4 figures, and they fade away as they move to the right of the painting. So I've got these 2 quite different ideas built into the same painting.
And this one, as Don said, is called The Dead Scrolls Sea. Through the portals of timeless tides, visions of watery eyes shed teardrops onto the fabric of destiny. Doorways haze into reality. Invisible chains encircle my mind, shackle my wrist and electrify my sleeping spirit. The blue of a neon moon binding my eyes with sunlight and ice surrounds these blood-red doors. These living placentas tied to the womb of heaven. I breathe the stale breath of the dead and mingle with the now and the living. I gaze into the future of days past. The scrolls have eternal eyes. They see me. They see through me. They call my name in soft, wet whispers. I climb into a dog-eared page of the Dead Sea Scrolls to see. I understand the writing. I understand the universe, the all. A sudden, divine clarity infuses this sacrosanct moment. I can see, no longer blind, I can see what the Dead Scrolls see.
And the third and final painting is called A Flower for Helen. Now I did this painting based on my couple of trips to Greece, and I like to add other images or other things. So you've got the lines and the Greek buildings up above and the flower. And I sold it to a friend of mine, Tony and Helen. Well, Helen died. Quite a few years later, I'm putting together a website. And I need a title for this, and I certainly don't think that Untitled is a particularly significant title, so I thought, I'm going to call this A Flower for Helen. Now, the interesting thing is once Candice gets a hold of it, she takes, without even knowing anything about the story, she really ends up writing about how the two people, Tony and Helen, will be getting together again in the future.
A Flower for Helen. On the rising knowledge of color and tone, the steps are stacked with books. A phantom man stands there, a flower clasped in his thoughts. A flower for Helen. The fragrance of the petals infuses the air like her scent on his collar. She moves slowly in another dimension. He climbs the steps with expectation, hoping the flower will please her. He rises as mist higher and higher toward the gates of heaven. As he nears, he hears a stir of wings and whispers. Slowly, the whispers dissipate until there is only one voice, indistinct at first, slowly growing louder. He hears her calling his name. As she approaches him, he kisses the flower and places it in her outstretched hand. A flower for Helen.